Ahoy there, YouTubers, and welcome to part number 2 of my Thatchers Island carp fishery update and progress. A little bit of time has now passed since my last update in sort of January, so I'll fill you in on what's happened and where we are now. Planning permission for the site was gained on the 29th of March 2020, with all drawings and plans being approved. This now gives me the ability to build the fishery legally, so that was one of the main things that I wanted to do, was to make sure that I had no comebacks or anything like that. A lot of people used to just go around digging lakes, but these days you need to get all the regulations and all the rest of the stuff that goes with it. So yeah, went down the legal route. It did cost a little bit of money, but at the end of the day it's worth it, because now I can legally do it, and we're all ready to go. There have been a couple of ties with what I am and what I am allowed to do at the moment. So part of the planning conditions for the field, which is the site where the fishery is going to be, was that I'm not allowed to do any kind of construction work in the field until the September. The main reason for this is because there's rushes in the field at the moment, and I had to have like an ecology statement done by an expert who said that there was minimal habitat there for bird nesting. The bird nesting season is in between March and August, so I can only do my building outside of those areas. It's not too much of a problem though. It's worked out in my favour a little bit, because I've managed to get everything booked up. So even though we're in lockdown at the moment, I've been doing little bits and bobs to get myself ready for the coming months. So without further ado, I guess I'll talk you through what we've been doing and the progress that we've made so far. So this is kind of like my little nursery, if you like. I started this one in the when was it? February, something around that time. Basically, I've got a lot of baby iris, the yellow flag iris. They grow to quite a tall plant in the end. They're only in their sort of like second year at the moment. I got them as plugs, so they've really come along quite well. The only thing is I need to keep a lot of water in them, but it's not been too much of a problem, because the weather's not been great. It's only been great in the last sort of like 2 weeks, so yeah, I'll give you a quick look. Doesn't look like there's a lot there, but there's a few hundred. So yeah, these are obviously going to go all around in the outside margins and things like that. Also over here we've got some Phragmites, basically common reed. You don't really see a lot of them around the fisheries around this area. So I thought I'd go for something different, and it will also add a little bit more protection of the elements when we come to build the fishery. But you'll see all that as we go along, I guess, the idea of what I've got. I've got some more plants there, just some more, again, more yellow flag iris really. So some of them are mature already in there. I've just got them from various places. So yeah, that's the little nursery, if you like. It may seem a little bit premature to be doing these things, but all these little taps that I'm doing at the moment, later on when I come to develop and dig the fishery, it already gives me a head start on the ecology side of things. Now, plants are probably one of the most important things you can add to a fishery. However, sometimes it seems to be the case that it's one of the least prioritised things that fishery owners don't do. Without plants in a fishery, and enough plants in your fishery, you can create all sorts of problems, from water filtration right through to not having enough natural food. You've really got to think about it like if you don't create the habitat for the biodiversity of a lake, then you just end up with a muddy hole. So unless you've got guys coming to fish in a muddy hole and they're throwing boilies in all the time, the fish will get kept fed. However, without that, and you go through your quieter months and things like that, then you know, it's going to be a bit of an issue, and you'll need to sort of like, you know, supplement feed. There's also the fact that a carp isn't, you know, designed in life to live off of boilies and pellet, so creating that natural environment for their food can only ever be a good thing. I probably will be doing those sorts of things anyway to, you know, just keep the weight up on the fish in the quiet times, but at the end of the day, I think that the biodiversity is just as important as the, you know, the carp going in themselves. Now, the plants that I concentrated my efforts on were to do with the water filtration side of things. So, for example, I've got a lot of these Phragmites, which is basically a common reed. I've managed to source these from a local spot, not too far away from my house, really. There's a kind of like a little wetland area, and what I've been doing with these is basically I've just been trimming them down to the nodes. So you've got like these little pieces here, we call them nodes. I'm just trimming them off and trimming off the dead ends, and then you just end up with kind of like a stick like this. You leave that in a bucket of water for about a month, 2 months, and what that will do is that will propagate itself. So initially it will just start to grow in on itself, shoot new roots out, and basically you've got a full-on plant just from a cutting. It's a lot cheaper to do it like that than it is to sort of go to your garden centre or something like that. I mean, if I wanted to plant my fishery in the way that I'm going to, I'd be looking at about 9 or 10 grand in a garden centre. Stocking wise, I still haven't decided yet on what I'm going to do with the stock. I'm not really at that stage yet, so I'm just kind of working through it as I go along. As I said, I'm just at the moment just trying to get some of the plants ready, because these plants are quite vigorous as well, so they'll spread really quickly. Within 2 years, you know, they'll fill the outer margins themselves just from the rhizomes underneath ground, and they just kind of like create their own paths, if you like. Once the fishery's been created, I'll be letting the, obviously, like over the winter time, letting the water level fill up. I'll plant it over the winter as well, and then once that's done, unfortunately I've got to leave it for a period of time just to let the lake cycle for a year, just to let the water levels calm down, let the plants establish themselves, and try and get a little bit of an ecosystem going. And then I'm hoping by the winter of 2021, towards the end of 22 or early start of 22, I'll have some fish to go in there. So for anyone who ever decides to build their own place, it's not a quick process. You could go around it by doing other things, you know, adding lake water from another venue. You know, that way you'll introduce things like zooplankton and, you know, all the other organisms that you need to run a fishery with. The problem with that is you risk disease. However, I'm doing things on a budget, and I'm in no rush to sort of get these things done as fast as I need to, so that's the way that I'm going to go around it. One of the other things I'll need to do is build myself an otter fence as well, because even though the nearest river system to me is kind of around a mile away the way the crow flies, I'm still going to have to do it, because I just don't want to take the risk of you know, something coming into the fishery or anything like that and losing fish on my first attempt at it. So yeah, there's a lot to do. There's a lot that's been done already, but we're ticking through it. We're sat in lockdown at the moment. Obviously haven't been able to go fishing during that time, so this is what I've been doing, just basically getting myself ready for the next stage. I've been doing a little bit of work on the entrance to the fishery. If you go back and see the part 1 that I did, you'll see that I was stood at the top of the field, where it was completely bare, and yeah, there was work that needed to be done there, where we were going to put a gate up and things like that. So if you haven't already seen that, go back. You'll be able to see the progress of what we've already done. And yeah, I'll talk you through next. I'll take you up to the, I guess I'll take you to the site, and you can have a look at what we've done. So this is how the top of the field looks like in its current format. As you can see, we've done quite a bit of work. Seeing as fishing was completely banned everywhere, I decided that the best thing to do was probably make a start on the gate entrance. So that's all been taken care of now. Did a little bit of work to the drainage facilities as well, just to make sure that everything ran off the road, because it used to be a bit of an issue with the bottom of the road flooding. So I've done a lot of work on the drains and taking care of that, all that sort of thing. The handy thing with the lockdown and not being able to go fishing was that I was able to get all these little jobs done. So when we come to do the actual build, I can sort of concentrate on that a little bit more rather than worry about site security. So here's the actual proposed plan of the lake. It's just over 2.5 acres in size. You can see by the plans, you've got this kind of like little road that comes in to the fishery, and that leads you into the car park. And then you're nice and close to where you need to be going, straight over to the spit, which brings you onto the angling island. Outside margin that's marked in the green is the areas that are set to be planted, though some of the areas will be planted on the angling island as well, just to give a little bit more cover. The beauty about this fishery is there's nothing really like it out there on the market at the moment, due to the unique kind of way that the island's set out, and with that kind of style as well, it gives you your own piece of water every time you go fishing. Swim numbers are set to be restricted to probably 7 or 8, depending on what kind of size we get in reality when we go to dig it. We did mark the field out the other day, and the swim sizes are really, really big. So you're not ever going to arrive and be fishing in a piss pot, because from my experience, I don't like doing that, and I'm sure a lot of other people don't as well. There's nothing worse than turning up to a fishery when there's a few anglers on and the only swim that's available is some little bog hole in the corner. Which is another reason why I've designed it in the way that I have, because I want it to be a really good experience for guys coming, rather than let's see how many swims I can fit onto this lake. And there's just nothing worse than that kind of thing, really, in my opinion. So that's pretty much it for the update for us and the progress that we've made so far. So hopefully you're all up to date a little bit and up to speed with what's going on. And now we're just waiting on September, where we can get the digger in and finally get the thing dug. Keep your eye out for the third part of what's going to happen. So that will be the actual digging of the lake. And yeah, tight lines, stay safe with this coronavirus stuff, and we'll see you soon.